All right. Welcome to the Catalyst Way, where we have conversations around unleashing the power of purpose and meaning to fuel transformative change in yourself and for others. We are now on episode 19, so we are getting closer to our goal of 25 for 25. And today we're going to talk about the word greatness because it has come up in several of our conversations. And I thought maybe if it's going to keep coming up, maybe we should actually talk about it. So there are lots of definitions of greatness. If we go by the generic definition of, the Oxford languages I've got, the Oxford Dictionary, it's the quality of being great, distinguished, or eminent. That boring. Um, but I have a definition that I think really epitomizes what the Catalyst Way means. So I have here um, greatness is a combination of a relentless pursuit of excellence, fueled by a strong vision and a positive impact on others through character and contribution. So that's the definition we're going to go with for this discussion. And I'll also add, so how about it requires qualities like integrity, perseverance, and passion, along with a commitment to continuous improvement and adaptability. While achievements and public recognition are common measures of greatness, it can also be found in personal growth, everyday acts of kindness, and inspiring those around you. So, with that said, what is your thoughts around? You use greatness a lot, especially from a religious perspective. So, I would like to hear some of the thoughts you have around greatness, and we could kind of dive into that. So,
Well, I think the first thing that comes to mind is as much as it is something that we have discussed, the more that we do this work and interact with others, the more you find out that, first of all, greatness tends to be a word that's thrown around lightly because I don't think a lot of people really understand all that it entails. Right? Someone can do something that we think is wonderful and we'll call that great, right? It's just a word that we use. And because of that, I think it has lost some of its power, some of its essence, which I think is a real shame. That being said, is also the reason why so many people don't care anything about being great. It's too much work, right? How many people really want to be great? They say it, but it's not really something they're after because the words that they will give you clearly don't line up with their actions. When you take a look at the definition that you just gave, it's a relentless pursuit, right? Just that part. How many people truly want to be relentless? They don't. I'm not trying to give it that kind of effort. I don't have that kind of tenacity. I don't want to stick to anything to that degree long term. And getting them to the point where they are willing to pursue that goal, well, it needs to be a goal that's meaningful. It takes us back to you living with purpose, you knowing why, having that goal that you're striving for, and then being willing to do it in an excellent way. That is how we truly unearth the greatness that's in us. All of us have that potential. Unfortunately, most of us will take that potential to the grave because we're just not going to let greatness become the component that allows all of that to unfold.
cool. So, there's one part, or there's something for me that's missing from that definition. One thing, and that's values.
Okay.
Because, as I read it, I believe the relentless pursuit, relentless, that word most people don't even want to deal with. But I almost want to add fueled by a strong vision and strong values, because values dictate how you live your life. Like they're almost like the rules on how you're authentic or not. So to me, it really, and it could be, the last part is and a positive impact on others through character and contribution. So character could mean values in a sense. Um, but I think there needs to be a part of values as part of this conversation. So for example, I'm going through the new version of the values activity that I have. And one of the things, there's a new part in it that talks about how does it impact these four areas of your life, like yourself, your family, your work, and your community. And I always, it's always funny how much my values dictate, like literally everything that I do. I would say, I would start with people need to get clear about their values in order to pursue greatness. Um, that's where I would start.
There may be a differentiation between the two, meaning that there are those individuals who you can talk about greatness, but it relates to just what they do, right? Not necessarily who they are. You've got a professional athlete, and his greatness is what you see on the field or on the court. But the greatness part as an individual, which ties into what you're saying about values, is virtually non existent. But if you talk about their performance, sure, we don't mind attaching the word greatness to that, but that's not the same as you being exuding greatness all across the board.
So it makes me think of, you know, Michael Jordan,
Yes,
probably one of the three best, greatest basketball players ever.
yes,
But I understand he was a bear to be around.
correct.
As a human being, he was a bear. We'll leave it that. And to me, it needs to be how you approach life even when the world's not looking, 24/7. So if you show greatness on the court, you show greatness off the court.
I think that ties into where you're taking the conversation when it comes to integrity, right?
That's right.
Because I can also use another basketball player as an example, Kobe Bryant, right? We're looking at one of the best to ever play the game, all right? And this is an individual who had a press conference in which he had to openly admit that there was a situation where he cheated on his wife, and he's saying that out in the public eye when the whole sexual allegation thing came up. Now, fast forward a couple of weeks later, this is also the same individual who is now having a conversation about how athletes are role models. So it's just that dichotomy is what we're looking at, where it's doing one thing and saying another, but your greatness on the court should match your greatness off the court.
Right.
But I think it does come back to that word relentless, right? Because the relentless part is me doing it in every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
So it goes beyond just the 4 a.m. practices that he's famous for, but now how does it show up everywhere else?
I was going to ask you, so how does greatness show up in your life? That was going to be my next question. Because, if we're going to preach it, we have to practice it.
Absolutely.
Um,
And I think it's that, it's one of the terms that you often use is being 1% better every day, right? It's that whole, my measuring stick is myself and where I was yesterday and where I want to be today. And do I have these practices in place that help me move further along the scale to get me where I want to go? And do I know where I'm going?
mhm. Now, here's the other interesting statement in that definition of greatness. It's the strong vision. So I would ask you, so do you have a strong vision for where you want to see yourself go, in terms of becoming, living with greatness?
Absolutely, and I think we all have to have one, right? Because
So
it's,
what,
you know, the saying goes, without vision, the people perish, right? They cast off restraint. They do stuff that they shouldn't do, right? So it's, my vision is almost twofold, but there's that part of it that has to do with being involved with my soccer players, that is a part of what I do, and helping them get to where they realize purpose and meaning for their lives before they enter into that college phase or the next phase of their life after high school, whatever they choose that to be. And the other part of it is doing this work and being able to share this message in a way that also, from a spiritual standpoint, helps others know why they're here and what they're here to do. And that clear vision pushes me forward all the time. It's what wakes me up in the morning. It's what inspires me. It's what keeps me going.
and I chuckle because I think that's why we connect so well, because I have a similar vision, except mine is focused on higher ed. Like, imagine if every faculty, staff, and student on a college campus could live with purpose and meaning, understand why they're here and what they're here to do. Who they're here to be and what they're here to do. And if every individual on a college campus can understand that, I think we could reframe what college looks like. Um, and I think those two are strong visions. I mean, we're on a similar path. It's just, you're doing it with athletes and in churches, and I'm doing it in higher education. Um, I think that's why people congregate towards us, because of this vision that we have. And it is relentless. Like, we are, like, people who hang out with us will say, you guys are just like crazy because every day you're doing this work in some capacity, every single day. And that's that relentless pursuit. I mean, whether we're doing it for our family, our friends, people we meet on the street, wherever we go, this is what drives us
And I
every
think
day.
it goes back to what you said earlier also about, in part of the definition, it's the impact that it has in the lives of others, right? And I don't think that can ever be overlooked. It's really knowing that it's a life of service. And that part really takes greatness to another level, and wanting to give others the opportunity to see how their life can also unfold, and having them now go do the same thing to others. Now, whose life can you go and impact in turn? And that's the part that, once you get into it, it almost makes the relentless effortless, if there is such a thing. Because you're not really fighting to do it. It's so what you want to do. It essentially becomes you going to work and not feeling like you are working.
So how's that for a question for the morning?
I'll take it.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate yourself on your level of greatness?
I don't know that on that scale you've ever arrived. Can you?
So, or let me change it this way. Who determines your level of greatness? Because here you used, I use Michael Jordan, you use Kobe Bryant. We have determined that they're at a level of greatness. So can you determine your own greatness?
I think you can determine whether or not you have reached whatever your goal is,
Reach that
because to
vision, right?
you, that would be success, which in turn would, in a manner of speaking, exemplify the greatness. Because again, when we're talking about Michael Jordan, it's as it relates to basketball.
Right.
So yes, I think one's reach of that accomplishment, I definitely would say yes, you've exemplified greatness in that area. Overall, I would say probably not, because you're going to reach for what's next.
So you think of a, Nelson Mandela, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King Jr. I mean, those are people that are on pedestals that we would consider greatness. I don't know if they would individually consider themselves great. I think they were great through their actions. And so I don't know if I could say there's a scale of greatness that we could put ourselves on. It's really just, are we doing the work in serving others that matters? And
Correct.
then it's up to them to decide whether that's great or not, but it doesn't drive us. I think the relentless pursuit of excellence drives us. Whether it's great or not doesn't matter to us. As long as we're making a contribution and we're doing it all the time, that's our measuring stick.
Yes.
And I think I wonder if people, I would even argue that people don't have that measure, like they don't have something to go towards, that vision, that mission that drives them towards a relentless pursuit. There's nothing that gets them, like you said, you got up and, what you do, you could do it, you get up in the morning and it's like, I'm ready to go. I don't think most people have that.
Which is what you have to have in order to do this. So it's like the saying, you have to have something that you're willing to die for, right? And I think sometimes we just look at that in the physical sense. My slant, my take on that would be, have you found something that you're willing to die for, almost in the line of, if you don't do it, do you feel like you're dying inside? Like you have to go there with it.
It's the thing you cannot not do.
Yes.
Yep. So, and so you are doing the thing you cannot not do, right?
Yes.
And you'll continue to do the thing you cannot not do. Um, so any other thoughts about, so, I think I'm gonna have to create something, some document around this, because as I look at it, they have core qualities and behaviors, impact and contribution and mindset. And I think I might have to write an article about this. Um, because, we've always talked about fulfillment. And then the question is, what's the difference between greatness and fulfillment?
That's another episode.
That's another episode. That's right.
Yes.
We won't go there now. Although when we talk about fulfillment, it's really purpose and meaning. What am I here to? So that's another conversation. But I like that we had this discussion because we use the word a lot, but we haven't talked about what it meant. And I think having this conversation about greatness really, and how we approach greatness matters.
Yes.
And why we do the workshops and why we, do all this work with in our, with your athletes and our churches and education, et cetera, et cetera. So cool. All right. Anything else you want to share before we call it a day?
That's it. Great talk on greatness. Yes. And bye for now.
All right. See ya. Have a great day.